When I think of Undertale, I often think of one of the most underrated characters, that being Asgore, the king of the underground. I think his character is tragic, a man who doesn't want to kill but is forced to be a murderer to save his people. His name literally means reluctant murderer, and his song's opening, Bergentruck, is named after a German tale in which a king sleeps underneath a mountain. Whenever I think of this tragic king, it also makes me think of another king, that being King Louis XVI, more commonly known as the King of France. King Louis was actually executed for treason, even though the proof was kind of in the air. But besides all of that lame stuff, it made me think of a question, something we will be analyzing today. That being, could King Louis XVI beat Asgore? King Louis was the main subject of a song I'm sure everyone has heard, that being Viva la Vida by Coldplay, or Long Live Life. The song is supposed to represent his downfall and his final words, but in actuality, he was much more than just a king. He was also known for hunting, which some believe was his downfall. By spending too much time away from the throne, he neglected his own kingdom to a point where some consider it even treasonous. But I'm going somewhere with this, so strap in your seatbelts. In Undertale, attack power and health are determined by LV, or love, which is earned through killing living beings. Love itself is an acronym, meaning levels of violence. We can also figure out how much love King Louis had by taking a look at how many creatures he actually killed. Like I said before, one thing King Louis loved to do was hunt. In fact, he actually kept track of how many creatures he killed between the years 1774 and 1787, which is around 189,251 animals. The source I got this from was a bit sketchy, but no matter where I looked, I found the same number. With that being said, we should point out that a decent chunk of these animals were deer, but for the sake of this analysis, we will be counting them all as deer. Now that we know he killed this many animals, we should also take a look into Undertale, more specifically into everyone's favorite Snowden encounter. This guy, Geiftrot. He has a very difficult to say name, but is also modeled after a reindeer. This is very visible when looking at his horns and body. The rest are actually just decorations that some rebellious teenagers threw on him. This is what he normally looks like. Now, when we kill him in the game, we actually receive 35 EXP, or execution points, which level up our love. With that being said, this is the closest monster we can find to what animals King Louis hunted, meaning he would be getting 35 EXP for everyone he hunted. With this being said, we can now calculate his execution points, which are around 6,633,785. Now, looking at the amount of XP to level up in Undertale, we can see the amount required moves up over time. For instance, to get to the second and third levels, you need to gain 10 experience, but to get to the fourth level, you need to gain 20. Using this knowledge, we can actually multiply to figure out how much EXP is needed to get to levels past level 20. Remember, the only reason level 20 is the cap is because that is the amount of monsters in the underground. Up in the real world, we have enough to go much further, as King Louis did in this example. Even if level 20 is the cap though, Louis would have hit it. Using this chart I made, we can tell that King Louis would be level 28, meaning he would have around 128 health and 6 defense. Using this knowledge, we can now look at Asgore's attacks, which do around 6 damage and will always leave you at 1 HP, kind of mirroring how Toriel will refuse to kill you. This means Asgore would have to hit King Louis 22 times before he would die. Using this knowledge, we can easily say King Louis has this in the bag, not even counting the number of deaths he caused indirectly by starting the French Revolution. Knowing this knowledge, I don't think it's even worth checking Asgore's health because of the end of the genocide route, where we see level 20 Frisk one-shot him, doing 99999 damage. And using this knowledge, we can assume that King Louis would do somewhere above this and or around this amount of damage, meaning he would wipe the floor with Asgore. Now, one thing I'm sure people will mention is the 6 human souls and how Asgore could use them to get an advantage, but I believe that the 6 human souls aren't nearly as powerful as people think. Sure, they gave Flowey the power to save and load, but we also saw them rebel against him in the very same scene. I don't think the human souls would love the idea of helping Asgore, the guy who killed them, win a fight against another human. Plus, I think the ability to save and load was mainly caused by Flowey already having determination from Alfie's experiments, meaning I don't think Asgore would be able to do so. Using all of this knowledge, I believe the Kingdom of France in 1787 would have easily beaten the Underground, mainly because of King Louis, who somehow killed 189,251 animals. After this massacre, that number moves up to 189,252 animals, considering he killed the goat of the underground. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.